Well, we continue with the broadcast this morning, and still to come on the show shortly, we'll be linking up with Zahid, Jadwat, and Selaelo Makhwidiri, who were both at the SONA yesterday, and they're still in Cape Town. So we'll be getting an update from them on a number of issues, the SONA, and also the arrival of the Palestine team, Palestine soccer team, and also looking at some of the other events in Cape Town this weekend. We also will be talking with Professor David Everett of the Wits School of Governance. Is the tide turning for the ANC? And the question is, there are polls that indicate that the ANC is in a decline. Now, will this signal the dawn of a coalition government? Also, talking this morning with Director of Salam Foundation, Azarbadi. Salam Foundation, together with Colors of Hope, will be hosting Gaza medical doctor Basal Abu Warda in South Africa from the 14th to the 22nd of February. We'll find out that what that is all about. And also, Amal and CLC, they presenting their outreach in terms of free advice, legal tax, and accounting. Will be joined by Amal's Munira Osman. So all of that to come on the show this morning from now right until 10 a.m. But right now we're going across to be joined by I don't know if they're the terrible twins, Zahid Jadwat and Selaelo Makhwidiri. To both of you, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and wonderful catching up with you guys this morning.
Welcome, Salam, Uncle Night. Thank you so much for linking up with us.
Well, you guys had the opportunity of attending the SONA yesterday. Now, many have already been talking about the ANC and Cyril Ramaphosa, reflecting on 30 years of the ANC in power, in government. But also, since when did Cyril Ramaphosa become a storyteller? The story of Tinswalo, Selaelo.
Yeah, I think it's filled with a lot of divisive opinions. Some people are saying, since it's his last SONA of the sixth administration, he was well in his right, to be recapping on all of the projects and all of the successes that he might consider, while he was part of the ANC. But in hindsight, some people say the SONA is not the time nor place to be, telling stories like that. He should be firstly reporting back on last year's SONA and telling us how far, are they with some promises that they've made, and then, throwing forward, to the next 4 years of what we can expect. So, it's a different approach, but I think the overarching one, and the one that many people might consider the correct one, is dealing with the business of the day, the here and the now. People were not there to listen to the stories. I think every South African knows the story of Tinswalo, we there are other stories of Tinswalo that he hasn't told. The fact that Tinswalo might be an unemployed graduate, the fact that she might be dependent on the state and receiving 350 grants. So it's a double-edged sword, but yeah, it is receiving criticism from everyone around.
Said, I know you've spoken to a number of people as well in the build-up and also after the State of the Nation address. What stood out for you?
Well, I mean, in terms of the State of the Nation address itself, so like my colleague Selaelo was mentioning, it would have been nicer to see some feedback on the progress since last year's State of the Nation address. I think this one took a very reflective tone, and not just reflecting on the past year, but reflecting on the past 3 decades. Now, of course, what stood out for me in terms of this current year's State of the Nation address was that there was the NHI bill, of course, which was mentioned, and the president sounding extremely eager to sign that into law, notwithstanding the various challenges that might come as a result of this. But then also something else which was conspicuous in its absence was any mention of trimming down the government. We know this was something that he came into government with a promise to do, because we know how bloated the cabinet was under President Jacob Zuma's administration. He came in with this air of change. He rode the Ramaphoria that was overwhelming the country at the time. And of course, this was one of his signature promises in his first State of the Nation address, all the way back in 2018 when he replaced Jacob Zuma. He did mention it successively in the years since then, but this was, I think, for me, the first time I heard no mention of that. And it makes one wonder, What is the progress regarding that? We know there was a report that landed on his desk suggesting how he could go about doing this, but still no action. And the fact that this was not mentioned last night makes one wonder what exactly is happening with regards to this.
Yes. Now, also, Selaelo, I know he touched on a number of issues. He spoke on jobs, he spoke on the economy, he spoke on electricity, he spoke about climate change, about just transition, state capture, talking about the 200 state capture accused who have been prosecuted. All of those things, briefly touching also on global affairs, saying that South Africa obviously has now, is in a position where South Africa has assumed our rightful place on the global stage as well, considering what has happened at the ICJ. But at the end of the day, all of that put together, many are saying that this was an electioneering speech. But what didn't
Yeah, yeah.
happen is the announcement of the date of the election.
Definitely. I think, us being there, I think one of the reasons why we went there was obviously expecting that the date of the elections will be announced, but that didn't happen. But, speaking of, it being an ANC manifesto, I think the first person that we spoke to was Groenewald of the, what's his party again?
Of the EFF Plus.
EFF Plus, yes. He said basically that's what we should expect. It's an election year. The ANC seem to be in a very, very desperate position. All the polls are calling that they might get 50% or less. And it will be a manifesto launch, a campaign, if you rather, from the ANC side. And in a lot of ways, that's what we saw. It was them telling us about all the good that they have done and how, going forward, they're going to do more if they're granted the opportunity. So it was essentially that. And it's, I think for me personally, it was one of the most disappointing sonas presented by the president. And it's really concerning and amazing because it's his last sona, so you're expecting him, to go out with a bang. I think like former President Jacob Zuma did when he knew his time at office was coming to an end. Introduced things like free tertiary education, just to put his mark in South African history. But I think with Cyril, I don't know, with time continuing, we might see any major policy implementations. The big one obviously being the NHI, which he said, and I quote, he's just looking for a pen to sign it. So I think yeah, we'll just have to wait and see at this point. But right now there isn't really any promise of any big policy changes that we can expect from the last 4 years of the sixth administration.
Right now, Zaid, I know you guys not only in Cape Town for the Sona, the Palestine team, the football team that is arriving in Cape Town. Tell us more.
Well, they did arrive yesterday and they were met by the Deputy Minister of Art and Culture. So, as soon as they touched down at the Cape Town International Airport, there was quite a bit of fanfare. We did see lots of people in ANC regalia gathered there at the airport to welcome them. And I think what was really heartwarming, regardless of your political affiliation, was the South African welcome that this Palestinian national football team was afforded. And lots of people saying as soon as they arrived, not just the politicians, but also Cape Townians, ordinary Cape Townians saying they have arrived home. South Africa is home for them. We are with them in solidarity. And I think we're going to see this quite strongly, not tomorrow, rather on Sunday, when they do play at the Athlone Stadium. Lots of people expected to attend, thousands of Cape Townians. We do know yesterday at the airport there was, in fact, someone who had traveled all the way from Wellington, which is about 70 kilometers away, just to meet the team. So you can expect lots of people coming from near and afar on Sunday to watch this match. And of course, the president will also be in attendance there. So it's quite exciting. There's lots of fanfare. And regardless of the outcome, I think the Palestinian team is going to be quite pleased to know that when they do come to South Africa, they do have a home and they do have a family, one could actually say.
Yes, and Selaelo, I know you're a soccer lover, so this is something you're looking forward to as well, and I'm sure this is going to be huge. It's going to be massive in terms of the events that are taking place in Cape Town this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is the biggest event of the calendar here in Cape Town. I think kudos must be given to the South African Football Association. the Cape Town, I mean the Western Cape branch of it. I think they pulled it really really hard to have the Palestinian national team to come this side. I think the plan was to have them play Bafana Bafana, but fortunately, unfortunately, Bafana Bafana are still in Ivory Coast, still doing the business at the African Cup of Nations. So they'll be playing a few local clubs from the Western Cape and Cape Town. And what really stood out for me was just the support, of them coming here. It was a really, I think you could see on their faces that they themselves were a bit, overwhelmed because, probably they were expecting a few people at the airport to welcome them. But you know how South Africans and Cape Townians generally like to do it. It's either go big or go home. And it was really huge. And I think there was what I've been hearing on the streets, a lot of people criticizing the Western Cape government, the Cape Town municipality, saying, Athlone Stadium is very small. They should be given a venue which is bigger and could support all the numbers that will be showing up at the Cape Town Stadium. People are saying the Cape Town municipality, Western Cape municipality is just trying to buy face. To say, we at least given you a stadium, but when it's other bigger events like cricket exhibitions or rugby exhibitions, bigger venues are opened up, and there's a lot more resources that are pumped into supporting those initiatives. So yeah, I think if you are in Cape Town or you anywhere near around Cape Town, I think the thing which is on everyone's lips is that soccer match on Sunday, and I think everyone is looking forward to it. But yeah, I think it's a really really amazing initiative pulled by the Department of Arts and Culture and by the South African Football Association.
Well, seems like both you and Zahid are going to be having fun, Selaelo. It's going to be quite a wonderful weekend, and it does appear as if you guys are enjoying yourself. So make the best of it, and I'm sure we'll get a lot more reports coming through on Salaamedia, on our social media platforms as well, about everything else that is taking place in Cape Town, and particularly looking ahead at the match at the Athlone Stadium. I'm sure a lot of footage will come through from you guys, possibly some interviews as well. So we're looking forward to all of that coming through this weekend from both of you.
All right, thank you so much, Ignite.
Shukran for that. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum assalam
Alaikum
wa
salam.
rahmatullah.
Yes, stay tuned to Salam Media and this weekend, particularly coming from the Athlone Stadium. And I'm sure there's going to be some exciting footage coming through from both Selaelo, Makhwidiri, and Zahid Jadwat. Our team out in Cape Town. The time is just gone, 20 minutes past 9. Next up, we've got Professor David Everett. We're talking about the tide is turning, or has the tide already turned for the ANC? Are we looking at the decline ahead of the elections? And does this herald the dawn of coalition government in South Africa?